G'day fellas, in this video we're going to be making a house, but not just any house. That's right, this house is going to be the most cursed build in Minecraft. I'll be using a bunch of different techniques from world edit to photo editing to get this build looking as wacky as possible. So, without further ado, let's get into the first part of the video. To start off, we of course need a build to work with. It'll have a bunch of criteria it needs to meet, as I have a bunch of ideas written down on what I want to do to get this looking as cursed as possible. The first thing I want is for it to be a 2-story house in order for me to have more room to add some weird stuff. So let's get down the frame for the house and go from there. Alright, so I've got my blocks, which is just spruce for now. I'm thinking this is going to be a pretty large house, so I'm going to start laying out the pillars now and just start figuring out the shape that I want for this house. Now, one of my other criteria is for there to be a cliff visible in the picture. So I think back here, I'm probably going to raise this terrain up a bit so that there can be a little cliff there. You'll see why that is soon enough. But I think this position here will be good to get that cliff in the background. Alright, so there's the frame of the house. I think this is actually the same shape as the starter house that we made on the Builder's SMP. But I think this shape will work. It's not as big as I wanted, but I don't really think it needs to be too big in order to pull off the things that I want to pull off. So now I'm going to add in the walls and the roof. Alright, so there is the roof and the walls done for the house. I've also added some windows and some doors. Now the windows are going to be pretty special. I'm wanting to do some kind of cool shape, maybe like a triangular shape added on, or something like that, some kind of diamond shape. I'm not sure exactly yet what I want to do with the door, but I will figure that out. So the main thing that's going to draw the attention of the viewer is the pathway. I'm planning on having the pathway a smooth curve. So we're going to need to make a nice straight pathway coming down here. There we go, there's our pathway. I'm also going to remove this little area here, just so we have a better angle for taking a picture. Alright, so the next thing I want to get sorted is a little pond, because I'm planning on having the pond being perfectly round, or like it's not going to have any edges. I'm not sure if this is going to be possible or not, but I guess we will see. So I don't want it too big, maybe just like that. Now I don't want to add any grass around it yet because it's going to be harder in the final product to get that looking right, but this composition is actually looking really good. The main picture is going to be like this. We're going to have the cliff in the background and then this here. So let's actually work on the cliff next. Now I'm going to use a plugin called Voxel Sniper, which is really helpful for making terrain really quickly. So let's start raising up this terrain right now. Okay, and I'm going to leave that like this, because in our second version of the picture, I'm going to change this to stone. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with how this is looking now. We've got a nice, pretty undetailed house. We've got our other criteria here, which is our little pond, and also our other criteria, which is a nice cliff face in the background. Now that this is all done, we can head to part 2 of the video, which is the edit. Now, the first thing I need before we can start making this build cursed is a way to take a picture, change a bunch of stuff in the build, and then return back to that exact same spot. There are probably a few ways to do this, but thankfully my server has a plugin called Essentials X that allows me to use a command called set home. Now, if I set a home here, go do a bunch of stuff, and then go back to that home, I'll be at the exact same angle that I was just before, which is going to be essential for this technique of editing style that I'm going to be going for. Now, I'm just going to briefly explain how this is all going to work. Firstly, let's take our base screenshot of the build. Now let's say, for example, I wanted the door to be really skinny for some reason. What I would do is go back into Minecraft, replace the door with spruce planks, then go back to my set home to get back to the exact same angle and take another screenshot. I would then paste this new screenshot on top of the first one and use the pen tool in Photoshop to cut along right here, which would reveal the door again from the screenshot behind it. And that's basically how I'm going to do some crazy stuff to this build and make it look really interesting. Now, with that out of the way, let's get on with the editing. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is make a nice, smooth, curved pathway. This is what's going to probably draw the attention of the viewer and invite them into the mess of a build that we have created, and make them want to find more things wrong with the picture. So, that means we need to get this done absolutely flawlessly. So to start off, let's head back into Minecraft and replace the pathway with grass. Now that that's done, let's go back into Photoshop and I'm going to paste in the screenshot that we just took of the build. And now, as you can see, when we turn on and off this layer, nothing changes other than like the position of some of the grass waving, but the pathway is the main thing that we're going to focus on right now. So what we're going to do is turn this layer off and we're going to draw along here the shape of the path that we want. And I'm going to want this to maybe have like maybe 1 or 2 bends in it. So I'm just going to start drawing this out with the pen tool and we'll see how we go. Okay, so there's our final shape of the path. Now what I'm going to do is just make a selection out of this. I'm going to hide this layer that we just made and then press delete on this. And there we go. There is a smooth curved pathway. And that looks so weird. I think I'm not really happy with the bend in this, so I'm going to go in and just touch this up a little bit more. Alright, there we go. I'm actually really liking the shape of this pathway now. That looks a little bit more natural looking, even though it isn't really natural to Minecraft. Yeah, I feel like that's going to do a pretty good job of grabbing your attention. When you first look at the picture, you're going to see this curved pathway and be like, what the hell? Alright, so now with the pathway completed, the next thing I want to move on to is the cliff in the background here. This is probably going to be what you're going to be drawn to next after looking at the pathway. Either this or the pond, and we're going to get to the pond next. Not entirely sure if this is going to be possible, but we'll try. So let's jump back into Minecraft and add some stone in here. Okay, so I'm just going to completely replace everything underneath the grass with stone. Okay, there we go. There's our replaced cliff. So what I'm going to do is head back to our angle, lower my FOV back to 35, and take another screenshot. Okay, now we're back in Photoshop. Let's drag in the new screenshot we just took. And as you can see, this covers up our pathway. So what I'm going to have to do is pretty much delete everything in this new screenshot, but this area that we've changed here. And there we go. So now this new screenshot is just this little square here. And it's just pasted perfectly on, so it doesn't look like anything's changed. So with this cliff, I'm going to draw out another shape pretty similar to the pathway, but I think this time I'm going to feather it between the grass and the stone. So I'm just going to quickly draw out this shape and I'll be back. Okay, so there's my shape. Let's turn this off and delete that and see how this looks. Alright, that's looking pretty good. So now I'm going to get the eraser and we're just going to feather this in like this. Now that looks pretty cool. I'm actually really happy with the way that looks. So I think we're done with the cliff for now. I might add some things. I was thinking of adding maybe like an ore block here, but I'm not exactly sure what I would do to make it look weird. But for now, let's move on to the pond and figure out how I'm going to do this, because I have not actually figured this out yet. Alright, so we're back in Minecraft. Now I'm thinking I might actually want to make this pond a little bit bigger so that I have more room to do what I want to do with the pond. So I think let's change the shape a little bit. Let's go down along this way and then we're going to come along this way, because I realized that we're not going to be able to make stuff on this front side be rounded because we don't have this block faced here to work with. We can only make this side here rounded. So what I'm going to do is start the roundedness from probably right here, and then it's going to come up along here and meet back up with the flat edge here. And instead of meeting up in this corner, I want it to meet up with this side of the block here. So it's going to be a smooth transition. And then I want to have probably that there. Let's actually bring this down one more. So it'll start from here and curve along to here. And then it'll be back to like a normal Minecraft looking pond up here. So let's fill this all in with water. Let's get another screenshot just like that. And then I'm also going to need a clean slate of this pond to work with as well. So let's fill this whole area in with grass, just like that. And let's get another picture back up here. All right, here we are back in Photoshop. I'm going to drag in the pictures that we just took before. So there's our big pond and there's our clean slate. Next, I'm just going to isolate both of these layers. And there we go. So now we have our isolated top layer and we also have our big version of the pond here. So what I'm going to do is turn off this top layer and we're going to make our curve right now. So I want this curve to be straight off the bat here and then come up and meet along on this edge. So let's see how this is going to look real quick. And there we go. That's exactly how I wanted it to look. That's probably as good as we're going to get because we can't make this front area curved as well because we just don't have this face here to work with. But we can do it on this side because you can't see that bottom face. So that's all of the exterior stuff done for now, unless if I can think of stuff later on. So next we're going to work directly on the stuff on the house. Alright, so here we are back in Minecraft, and my first idea is to have this bottom layer as stone. Sometimes we like to do this with houses, where we have a bottom layer, kind of looks like a foundation. But I think for this house, what I want to do is have basically a half slab of stone here, and then it would be another half slab of spruce here. But obviously you can't do that in vanilla Minecraft, because every time you place a slab, it's going to be on the next block above. You can't have two half slabs that are different. But with our photo editing techniques, we're going to make this happen. And I might even do something cheeky over here as well. Maybe have it slope down on an angle here like this. So with that placed, let's go back to our angle and take another screenshot. Okay, here we are back in Photoshop. There's our new layer that we've just added in. Let's once again isolate our layer. Okay, there we go. There's our new layer, which is just this bottom part of the house here. We can tell the middle of the plank block by this line right here. So what I'm going to do is cut along this layer right here of the plank. And then we're going to go up along here, turn back on our layer. I actually need to extend this a little bit more, just like that. And we're going to delete that. And there we go. Now we have a half slab of stone connected to a half slab of spruce. Now let's do the same thing on this side, but I want this to slope inwards down towards the door. Okay, so there's our shape. Let's turn this layer back on. And again, I need to add a little bit extra here. And let's press delete and see how that looks. Wow, that looks awesome. That looks so like weird. I wish you could do that in normal Minecraft. But that looks really cool. So you can see some of the crazy stuff you can do with this technique. Obviously, you can't walk around in Minecraft and look at it yourself, but you can look at it in this picture, which is all that counts if you're posting it to social media like me. Alright, so now with this bottom trim done, I want to move on to my next idea now, which is I'm going to add a flower pot up here on a slab. But the idea is to move the slab so it's in the middle of the supporting block instead of at the top or at the bottom. So let's go back into Minecraft. I've already got my stuff set up here that I'm going to need. So what I'm going to do is actually replace all of these blocks here with lime concrete. And that just gives me an easier background to work with while I'm cutting out the flower and stuff. So just like that, I'm going to place the spruce slab on here. And I'm also going to put on flower pot and a allium. So now with this placed down, let's go back to our home and take another screenshot once again. And now back in Photoshop, let's drag in our picture once again. And this time we're going to have to be a little bit more painstakingly accurate with our cutting out because we need to isolate just this area. So thankfully, because I've set this background to be green, it's going to be a little bit easier to cut it out. But as you can see, the shadow has changed some stuff. So there's some of the work already done for us there. We're just going to have to clean up some of this stuff over here and this big blob here as well. But I'm going to go through and clean this up right now. Alright, so there's our completed flower pot with a slab. And now what I'm going to do is drag this down so that it's actually halfway between the top of the block and the bottom of the block like that. And from far away, this is actually looking really good. The shadows are a little bit weird here, but overall, I think it's fine. We might actually touch this up a little bit. What I might do is come back into Minecraft and get another picture in the exact same spot like that without the shadow. Back into Photoshop, let's drag in the picture we just took. With this new picture, all I want to do is cut out this tiny little corner right here. Cut that out, delete that picture, and then just cut this out here from the pot. And there we go, that is looking a little bit better. We can come back in with the band-aid tool and just try and clean up this right here. And there we go. I think that's as good as we're going to get. It's hardly noticeable. No one's really going to see that. But there we go. There we have our slab that is not placed at the top or the bottom of the supporting block, but instead in the middle. It's just a slight detail that probably not everyone's going to see, but it definitely stands out. Okay, so my next quick idea is to have this stone actually halfway on the grass as well, and maybe have it gradually slope into the corner. So let's go back into Minecraft once again, and I'm going to change just this area here to stone. and then let's get another screenshot once again real quick. Okay, back in Photoshop, let's drag in our picture. We're gonna isolate this layer, and there we go. There's our layer with just this in. And now I just want to play around with some different looks. So firstly, let's try something like this, like a gradual incline like that. Okay, that looks pretty nice. Let's try something different. Let's go for maybe another wavy effect. Let's get the pen tool again, and we're just gonna draw out a nice little wave like this. And let's delete that and see how that looks. That actually does look pretty nice. I do like that. I do want to try one last thing, and that is just a clean line across halfway in between. So let's see how that looks. Okay, let's delete that. And yeah, that looks pretty good too. I think I'm going to go with this effect instead of the other two. I just like that more. All right, so now that that's done, let's go on to our next thing, which is adding a window here. But instead of it being just a normal window, I want it to actually halfway go into these two blocks as well. This is probably going to be the most difficult part of this whole process. So let's get into it. All right, so the first thing I know what I'm going to need to do is change all this here to spruce. Let's get our glass pane block and place it right there. And we're going to have to get a picture of this. So there's picture one. Next, I'm going to need a clean slate kind of the background. So what I'm going to do is remove all of this, and let's fill in the floor a little bit here with spruce like that. And then we're going to make the wall kind of stick out a little bit further, just like this, and you'll see why soon. So now at this angle, you can't see the wall in this side, and that's going to be useful for us later. So let's once again take another screenshot. Back in Photoshop, let's drag in our two new screenshots. There's our first one, and there's our second one. Okay, next, let's isolate both of these layers to the things that we changed here. So there we go. Now we have both of our window layers like this. So this one here is going to have to stay in the middle, and we're going to have to drag this layer on top like that, and we're going to have to drag this over to the side. And I'm going to have to actually clean this up a little bit more, so it's just the edge of the window here. All right, so that's just cleaned up a little bit there. And let's drag this over so it's halfway between this block like that. So that's pretty much where we're gonna need it there. And we're gonna have to clean this up quite a bit to get it looking perfect. So let's go ahead and do that right now. All right, so that's looking pretty good. As you can see, there is a visible line here. So what I'm going to do is merge both of these layers together. So now they're one thing. And I'm going to get the Band-Aid tool once again and hope that this can help clean the line up, which it can. It's doing a pretty good job of it. Just like that, we're going to make it a bit smaller for along this glass bit here, just like that. And yeah, that is looking really nice. That's looking really good. So I actually wanted to extend it out along here as well. So I think we can use the first screenshot we took. Oh no, that would be the second screenshot. So let's drag that in again, just like that. Yeah, we need this one where you can't see the wall in the background. So let's cut this out, just like that. And we're gonna move this over to this side here. And now we want this to be in the middle of this wood block. So let's position it about there. Yeah, I think that right there is as good as we're gonna get it. So let's fix up the bottom here. Okay, and now let's actually merge this in. So now all of these layers are one layer. We're gonna get our Band-Aid tool once again and clean up this line along here, just like that. And this is looking pretty good. We might have to do a little bit of like slight pixel work here just to get this looking perfect. So what I'm gonna do is get our pencil tool, and we're just gonna sample probably this color right here. Let's make this a lot smaller and just fill in some of these weird looking gaps. Now obviously these little glass areas here aren't looking right. So what we can do is, I actually just want to remove this one because this is the only one that's out of place. If it goes down, up, and then back down, it's going to look normal. Let's try one tool I haven't used much, which is the patch tool. Let's draw around this here. And we're just going to move it maybe down here. So we just want to sample from that area. And there we go. That has done a really good job. It's slightly discolored. We can try and fix that up with the Band-Aid tool again, just like that. And there we go. That's barely noticeable. I just noticed this as well was cut off slightly. So what we can do, take these pixels right here from this area, and we can just paste them on top right there. and that's fixed up that little spot. Maybe even duplicate that over to the other side so it doesn't look weird and faded. And there we go. There's our window that extends halfway into the opposing blocks here. And I think we did a pretty good job of that. Okay, the next thing I want to do is add some tiny little windows here. Just some windows that are in the middle of these spruce blocks here. So, back in Minecraft once again, all we need to do is change these to spruce blocks and then place some glass blocks right here. Let's get our screenshot and back into Photoshop. Okay, let's drag our new picture in again. And this one is the one with our glass blocks. What we're gonna have to do is cut out these glass blocks like so. I just realized on this side, we've run into a problem with the pillar blocking the way. So I'm just going to quickly get another screenshot with this whole pillar here removed. Okay, so we've cut out that first one here. I'm going to drag in our new screenshot with this changed one here. I've just placed this here so that the shadows are still affecting this. And now what we can do is just cut this side out as well. And there we go. Now we have our two windows in. And all I'm going to do for this is just simply shrink this down. Maybe to about that size, and that pretty much just gives us a tiny little window. I'm gonna do the same on the other side, try and match the sizes up. Yeah, that's actually spot on. And there we go. Now we have two tiny windows next to the door. Something, again, that you can't do in normal Minecraft, but would be awesome because when you have a door set up like this, you can never really add windows here. You just have to have it filled in, which is annoying. But now we've added in some nice little windows here. So for my next idea, I actually want to move back into the environment. And what I want to do is have some stone brick walls here, but they're not going to be locked to the grid. They're going to kind of be placed as if they're not locked to the blocks in Minecraft. I'm going to space them along here. So let's go back into Minecraft, and I've got my walls and my lanterns. There's going to be lanterns on top of it. Maybe space them out like that, just so that we have the shadow and everything and nothing's blocking them, so it makes it easier for us to cut them out. Let's go back to our angle and take another screenshot. Back in Photoshop again. Let's drag that picture in. And let's start cutting out all of these. Yeah, I've just noticed that this one is actually covering up this one here. These two, with their perspective, actually look almost identical. But so I think it's going to be fine to just duplicate this one in place of this one. So I'm just going to cut out this one. Okay, and there we go. There is all of our cut out lanterns. I've just noticed that we have run into a problem here where the lit up grass looks a bit different here, but we can fix this pretty easily. Also, another problem here with this. So I might have to go back in and I might have to replace them with the background having the same texture on it. So let's actually delete these two. And I'm just going to show it off here with these three, and I'll go back and do these off camera just because it's the same thing as this. So we're going to find our three layers. So this one firstly, let's move it here. So it's clearly off the grid. It's not lined up with this grass block at all. Let's do this one maybe there, and then we'll do the last one down here. So they're clearly not locked to the grid, but it is still a subtle change. So to fix up this shadow problem, all we're going to do is get the eraser tool. Let's make it a bit smaller. Make sure we have the soft brush, and we're just going to soften around the edges of this shadow here. There we go. So that's done for the first one. I'm going to do this for these other two and also add in these ones here, and you'll see how that's going to look right now. So here's the finished lanterns. I decided to take out the one that was here just because it was too many lanterns. And so with this one, as you can see, it does slightly change this curve here, but once zoomed out, it's barely noticeable. But we did end up getting this looking pretty nice. As you can see, this is the layer here. We just soften the edges so it looks a bit more normal along here. And yeah, so there's our stone brick walls that are off the grid. The next environment change I want to do is actually add a tree, just a little tree right here. And this is going to sell the effect of this pond here, because right now it stands out a little bit. This curve looks very unnatural. But I think having the tree here with the shadow casted into the water is going to look a little bit more realistic. All we have to do is just get our oak sapling, plant it maybe right here, and bone meal it up. Thankfully we got a small tree. Once again, take another screenshot. And I just realized that the shadow is actually going backwards, so that's not going to change it much, but the tree's still going to look nice there anyway. What we could actually do is try adding some seagrass and maybe a lily pad as well. So let's just chuck some of this in here like that, and let's add a lily pad there. Let's also add maybe a little bit of grass around here, and we'll do some sugarcane as well, why not? Okay, there we go. Let's go back to our angle, get that screenshot, and back into Photoshop. There's our new picture dragged in with our tree and all those changes there. So let's cut around the tree like this. Okay, and now that that is isolated, now what we have to do is find our pond curve and actually drag this up above this here. So now our curve is back, and that's it. That's all we had to do. So now just this pond is looking a little bit more natural. And what I might also do is steal one of these. Oh, I just noticed this is cutting over into the path. Let's get rid of that. And I'm gonna steal one of these pieces of grass here, and I'm just gonna move it over to here. And there we go, piece of grass right there. One more quick thing I want to do with this pond is actually place another sugarcane right here. And it's just going to be one high, and it's just going to cover a little bit of the water here, and it's just going to kind of sell that this pond is really curved like this. So let's quickly do that. I'm just going to place our sugarcane there. It doesn't really matter how perfect it looks because I'm going to be cutting it out perfectly anyway. All right, there's our new layer with the sugarcane. Now I'm going to painstakingly cut all of this out perfectly. All right, there is our perfectly outlined sugarcane. Now I'm going to cut this out, and we're just going to move this up probably about right there. Now you might notice there are no shadows. So to fix this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the first screenshot that we took of this. I'm once again going to isolate this area, and I'm just going to turn the opacity down of this new layer and try and match this up like that. And what I'm going to do is just grab the shadows from this picture. And there we go, that is looking a little bit more natural. I'm just gonna soften this edge right here just a little bit. Also this one here too. And there we go, there's our sugarcane added in, and that looks really good. All right, and one last thing I've decided that I don't really like anymore is this curve in the cliff. It just looks a little bit weird. So all I've done is just changed it to this. It's just more of a smoother curve instead of this like wonky looking thing. And with that, that's going to be the last thing that I'm going to change in this picture. I think we've done quite a lot. I wanted to do some things with the roof, but I tried a bunch of different stuff and it all just looked a little bit too strange. So I'm just going to leave it as is, because I'm really happy with everything that we've done so far. There's lots of little details that you're going to spot, some big details that you're going to see first, which hopefully invite you into looking more into the picture and seeing all these like weird little changes and stuff. But yeah, I know this was quite a long video already. I think it's the longest video on my channel so far. Was not expecting it to be that long. So if you enjoyed this, feel free to leave a like on the video. It helps it reach more people. And if you ended up using this technique for yourself, feel free to post a story on Instagram with your picture, or send a DM to me on Instagram or on Discord or something, and I'll share it on a story on Instagram and I'll tag you in it. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.